The NFL officially got bored, and they decided they're going to change the rules yet again to hurt the defense. Baseball is again in controversy, with gambling being the topic and its biggest star, Shohei Ohtani, in the middle. This could ruin baseball forever. And the NCAA tournament Sweet 16 is coming up this week, but that's not the story everybody's talking about. The NCAA president is saying prop bets should be banned from college sports. And let me tell you, I think he's right. That and more coming up on Sports Talk with Dad right now. Welcome back to another amazing episode of Sports Talk with Dad. As always, my name is Kyle, and I cannot call this Sports Talk with Dad without the man sitting next to me, a man who is the sorest loser that has ever existed on this planet, my dad, Tim.
I am not a sore loser at all. I actually gave a shout out to your... I hate that shirt.
I love this shirt.
Where'd you get that?
I ordered it.
You would.
I had to for the show. For those of you that weren't paying attention on Sunday, it was the Women's College Hockey National Championships. It was Ohio State versus Wisconsin for the second year in a row, and Ohio State avenged their loss from last year, winning the national championship. So, of course, I have to support my team with an Ohio State Buckeyes hockey t-shirt.
Okay, I'm still proud of Bucky.
It was a heck of a game.
This is, in fact, the second great finals game we've seen.
Great hockey.
Wisconsin won in the last minute last year to win 1-0. This year, Ohio State made an incredible shot, and their goalie stopped everything.
I haven't seen saves like that ever. She was pulling saves out of nowhere to win that game.
She would not be denied.
No, not losing this one.
No.
Not going to be on me. 6-on-5. They pulled the goalie with a minute left. Nothing was getting by her all game.
On our X channel, or whatever you call it on X, I did give a shout out to them and say it was a great game. Congratulations.
It's because you control our social media, and I made you.
Well, you strongly suggested it by promising not to let me see my grandchildren on Easter.
Yeah, I did. Let me tell you how much of a sore loser this man is. He didn't answer my phone call for 2 hours after the game.
Because I knew what you were going to do.
I text him every 10, 15 minutes saying, did you see the end of the game? Ohio State national champions, sent gifts, sent pictures. Wouldn't stop until he answered my phone call.
I never did that to you last year.
Yes,
Never.
you did.
Maybe.
I answered the call, listened to you rant and rave about how great Wisconsin and Mark Johnson is.
And they were.
And then you continued throughout the night sending me stuff. So don't sit here and act almighty and humble like I didn't do this to you. Yes, you did.
No.
And it was awesome to be able to do it back. Congratulations, Ohio State women's hockey, for being the champions of the world.
I will say this about Mark Johnson.
Yeah.
I've never seen a place. His father was a legendary Badger men's hockey coach.
Yep. Mark Johnson, an Olympian,
And Mark
1980
Johnson,
Olympic team.
He was part of that winning
He was the
Miracle on
MVP
Ice.
of it.
Okay. He was part of the Miracle on Ice.
Yep.
Great player. But he built his own dynasty with the women's that is every bit as large and casts as large a shadow as his father did on the
100%.
men's side.
Well, his daughters played hockey, and that's why he went into women's and really helped create women's hockey to what it is now.
There's been a lot of talk. Well, why doesn't Mark go and coach the men's? He doesn't want to.
No, he's had that opportunity several times and has said no to it. But, I mean, I will say it is Ohio State and Wisconsin in women's hockey. If you look at, they both won by a minimum of 3 goals in every round coming up to the championship. In a 0-0 game going into the third with 5 minutes left, Ohio State finally puts one in the back of the net.
And for all of you that are sitting there, why are you talking about a women's sport? This hockey was every bit as good as stuff you'll see the men play.
Oh, it was
great hockey.
It was outstanding hockey. I mean, I've seen AHL games that aren't as good as that. Let me put it that way. I've seen some pretty bad goalies in the AHL, but not with the Admirals in Milwaukee, because they are awesome. I have to say that, or my oldest son will curse me. He is a big Admirals fan.
Yes, I know he is.
But I do have to say one other thing before we move on to the topics we need to talk about today.
What's that?
I don't normally mention the comments on this show, but I have to today Did you read the comments?
Yes, there was one guy there that actually defended me and said the name is Cheesecake, so it's a cake.
No, that is not what was said. Nobody said that. Our comments, thank you guys so much for defending me. We had a conversation last week about is cheesecake cake or pie? And I changed people's lives because cheesecake, we had one guy on there that said cheesecake is a pie.
No.
I never thought about that before. It's in the comments. You can see them.
And
I don't know your name on this, and I apologize, but it's all there.
Okay, wait a minute. I was tempted to go back and answer that comment because I did see it.
Yeah.
Cheesecakes is a hybrid between a pie and a cake.
It's a pie.
It's not a pie because it's made in a hot water bath.
It's made in a pie dish.
No, it's made in a spring form. You don't make pies in a spring form.
How do you serve cheesecake? Normally in a
For
pie
you,
tin,
we
right?
just give it to you and you eat it like a
That's
rabid
true.
dog.
I do. Well, I only get cheesecake once a year. I do that on purpose because cheesecake is my all-time favorite dessert.
Cheesecake
And
is not a pie.
I destroy it. But it is a pie.
No, it's
cheesecake is a pie.
Okay.
Cheesecake is a pie. Go look at the comments. They all agree with me.
No.
I changed people's lives with that conversation yesterday.
Packers are big news today.
Moving on, I guess, quickly. I love when I win arguments. It makes my day. You guys made my week.
I hate you.
Thank you so much. This has been amazing.
Can't believe I brought you into this world.
Yep, and you can't take me out.
Nope.
I'm too old now.
Yep.
On to the Packers.
So Mark Murphy had his comments today, and there were two things that I loved.
Yes.
One that surprised me, one that I thought was just clever as all get out.
Yeah.
So the Packers apparently are down to possibly going to Brazil to play the Eagles. The other team that's up for it is Cleveland.
Right.
We'll know in the next week.
They desperately want the Packers to go.
Packers desperately don't want to go.
They don't want to go. The only reason they went to London last year was because it was that or Hard Knocks.
Right, and they didn't want Hard Knocks. But Mark Murphy goes, well, you know, we've
2 years ago. I'm sorry they went to London. My apologies.
Yeah, it was Rodgers last year.
Sorry.
We'll, of course, do what's best for the league. But, you know, for us to go there, we'd either have to bus to Milwaukee or we'd have to take a separate plane. It's not easy to get out of Green Bay. We're a small town.
That's such a cop-out, and I love it.
It is brilliant. Do whatever you can to keep that team in Green Bay.
The team that has private jets that fly out of the Green Bay airport that has been designed specifically for the Packers to fly in and out.
You need a bigger plane to fly that far internationally. The 10-hour flight.
Yep.
You're so much farther north than almost any other team. It's not easy to get to Brazil from Green Bay.
Presidential candidates are flying into small airports all over the country, and Air Force One landed in the Waukesha Airport in the middle of nowhere, Wisconsin. You can definitely land a plane in the Green Bay airport.
I don't know if you could land a huge giant 747 or whatever they need to fly, 757 or whatever they're up to. But I just admire Murphy's.
He's trying.
He's trying anything.
He does not want to go to Brazil.
No.
Well, and the issue is, it sounds like it's an Eagles home game, but I'm assuming the Eagles have a big enough fan base where it's not as big of a deal for them. But the reason that they never went international before, especially with the Jaguars, is because the Packers sell out wherever they go, and people refuse to give up their away games because it draws more fans. The Packers have a huge fan base.
Well, to that point, you realize that Europe is split up into zones. You know, like one area is a Jacksonville area, one area is a New England area, on and on and on.
In Europe?
In Europe and around the world.
I didn't, but that makes sense.
Green Bay has nothing. He said, we are American.
Yeah.
We are owned by the public.
Yeah.
We are not international.
No.
And
they do that because they don't want to travel.
They don't. They don't want to go to I'm sure people in Brazil want to see the Packers come because they're well known.
Yep.
But I don't think the Packers are going.
No.
They're going to pull in whatever chips they need to.
They are. I mean, they may not have a place to play in 10 years in Green Bay.
Well, that's the other story.
So maybe they have to go to Brazil to play.
So the city of Green Bay, they were negotiating with the Packers to extend their lease.
What an idiot.
Remember, the Packers are publicly owned.
Correct.
They do not own that stadium.
They don't.
They've got a lease with the city, and the They were negotiating for an extra year or two on their lease to go past
I think
2035 or 6.
I could be wrong, but I think they own the stadium, but not the land.
Could be. Whatever
It's
they need.
still City Field.
They need to have a lease.
Yeah, technically it's a public park.
Right. The city broke off negotiations for no reason that was stated.
When the Packers are about to invest $80 million of their own money, by the way, to renovate parts of the stadium for the draft coming to town, which is going to bring more business to Green Bay than they've ever seen before.
And Murphy looked at the city and said, well, we're not doing these renovations.
No, why would you?
We're going to hurt it. It's going to hurt.
This is politics getting in the way of common sense.
Again, as always, they were going to renovate bathrooms. They were going to do some.
Right. They have things they can do.
Improve the plant, I guess is what they call it. That's all stopped. Packers are going, if you're not going to give us an extra year on this lease and negotiate in good faith, we're not spending this money.
And that's one thing the Packers do really well is they are constantly updating Lambeau. It's nonstop.
That's Mark Murphy's legacy.
Correct. Well, and think how much they invested with Titletown. For those of you that haven't been to Green Bay.
Shame on you.
You stole it right out of my mouth. Well done. But they've invested a lot in that town. They've invested more in the community and done more for the community growth-wise than I will argue any sports team has ever done for a city anywhere else in the world.
Without Green Bay, or without the Packers, rather, Green Bay is Dubuque.
Correct.
And that's not a slam on Dubuque.
Sure,
it's a small Midwestern port city with nothing going on.
It is a slam on Dubuque, and it should be because Dubuque sucks.
But they do have an indoor tennis facility with clay courts.
Do they?
Which is real cool. Red clay courts.
Okay, I take it back, Dubuque. You are awesome.
Yeah.
Never mind. I never played on red clay, ever.
It's fun.
I played on blue clay, but I've never played on red clay.
Well, that's hard true. And I was terrible at it because I serve and volleyed, and I wasn't fast enough to get in.
I know.
That's
another
another
time
story.
I actually had a chance to beat you, and then you quit playing tennis.
My body quit.
It's still not acceptable. I'm finally about
Got
to beat
hit
him
by
in
a
tennis.
drunk driver.
It doesn't matter. I was about to actually beat you in tennis, and you quit.
Reel it back in, back to the Packers. The city of Green Bay, get your heads out of your behind. Work with the biggest entity you have in the city that brings in more money.
And it's not even close.
It's not even close. I mean, and more positive public relations to your community, and you're screwing with them, really?
Well, Mark Murphy said it right. We're not asking for public funding.
Right.
We're just asking for a lease extension, and then we'll put in these renovations on this stadium that we don't own, by the way, or at least don't own the land on. We're leasing the land. This is just dumb. This is politics. This is Green Bay mayor trying to get more money out of the Packers, not understanding what they have. I just don't get it. Your streets are named after players and coaches and all of this stuff, and now you're not negotiating a lease with the Packers?
Honestly, I'm shocked that the Packers don't have $1 a year lease for perpetuity with the city.
They should. I mean
this
is a joke, and this is where politics become an issue when it comes to sports teams.
I give Murphy credit.
Kansas City needs to tell the owner to stuff it and move if you want to move.
Different situation.
But they're not asking for public funding. They're just trying to get a longer lease on that land, and so they're not worried about it. Again, you should just be giving that to the Packers, considering your city doesn't exist without the Packers being there.
So we'll go from the obscene to the ridiculous.
I like that.
Brooks Koepka.
Oh, my God.
Tiger Woods came up and changed the sport.
Yeah.
Brought more money into the sport than any other player since Jack and Arnie.
Right.
You know how Tiger talked about Jack and Arnie? With reverence.
Class.
Dignity. All class.
Joy.
Brooks
honor.
Koepka, on the other hand, when asked about Tiger Woods playing in the Masters, he goes, Tiger playing in the Masters is like when your little brother wants to play Xbox, so you give him a controller that's burned out or turned off. He thinks he's making a difference, but he doesn't matter. Are you out of your mind, Brooks?
I don't know what you want me to say here. Like, this is the most idiotic thing. This is why people don't like Brooks Koepka on the tour. I mean, I was on his side with the DeChambeau thing when it first started. Now I'm all DeChambeau's side. I get it now. This guy is a jerk. This guy clearly doesn't care about the sport of golf. He's arrogant. And why would you say that?
That's what's amazing to me. Look, Koepka has come out and said, golf's not my favorite sport. I just happen to be really good at it.
I really don't think he likes playing golf.
I don't. But give him credit. He's one of the best in the world. But when you look back, Tiger Woods is the reason you're making the money you're making.
Before Tiger, if you weren't in the top 10, you didn't make enough money to really live on. I mean, that's how it worked. You were working nonstop to try and make a living. And now you just got 200, if you're Brooks Koepka, you just got $200 million just up front by Live because they're trying to get into a sports market. You don't even have to play and you get paid this money. You play 8 times a year now. The people before Tiger came were playing 365. It was nonstop tournaments every single weekend just to try and make a living to get better. And now players, they can finish in the top 100 and still make millions of dollars.
This is a question. We've got a friend of the show, Dave Schultz, who's the CEO of NextLinks. I can't wait to hear his comments.
We need to get a
this
statement from him.
We do.
Have him on the show. I want to hear what he has to say about this because he's really locked in with players, and we got to get him on here to talk about this because this is absolutely asinine. This is why would you make this comment? This is the most relevant golfer of all time. You may not call him the greatest golfer of all time.
He's one of the 2 greatest golfers to ever hold a club.
Tiger Woods did more for golf
than
Jack Nicklaus did.
I wouldn't go that far. What Jack did was different than what Tiger did.
Okay, let me put it this way. Jack Nicklaus, I almost said Nicholson again. I'm really bad with that. Jack Nicklaus set the groundwork to hand off to Tiger.
Correct, he did.
And Tiger took the sport and left it better than it was.
Yes.
And without the injuries, Jack does not have those records anymore.
No, I don't think he does at this point.
And he probably wins 100 tournaments and beats Snead's record because he's tied with him now.
Well, and here's what I'm hoping. I'm praying that this week, the Masters week, which is in 2 weeks, I think.
Okay.
I hope it's between 75 and 82 degrees the whole weekend because then Tiger can get loose and he can play.
Right. The reason he pulled out of the Masters last year is because it was rainy and cold.
I can relate.
I was going to just say, I've seen you with your back because you've had 3 back surgeries from 18. Is it 4 now? 4 back surgeries. And when it gets cold, you've always been that way.
Yeah.
If it's because we used to golf in the morning before your big accident. And if it was a chilly morning, you were just riding along with me.
Well, it took a long time to warm up. Let's put it that way.
It was rough for you. If not, you were sore the rest of the day. Yeah. And we just played 9 holes.
Right. And Tiger was asked last year, you could tell his leg was just miserable.
He couldn't do it anymore. I would love to see 4 nice days in a row for Tiger.
It can happen.
And then he has 4 good rounds in him left. He has 4 great rounds in him left. This is the greatest player of all time. Despite what you say, he's the greatest player of all time.
I'm not arguing. I'm just saying he's one of the 2. I mean, it's either Jack or Tiger, and I love both players.
That's fair. I'll give it to you. It's Tiger. But anyway, he has 4 great rounds left in him because we've seen him have great rounds, right? Yes. And he just can't string them together because he gets sore. If he can hold off and make that happen, and he's doing it without painkillers too, which is even more amazing to me. He does the CBD gum.
Sure.
But he's like, I'm not going down that path again, which good
for him. I mean, as somebody who went down that path,
right?
I respect the hell out of Tiger for that.
It makes me happy to see. So I'm really hoping he can get 4 rounds and just shut Brooks Koepka up for good.
Believe me, this is on his bulletin board.
Right. And by the way, when Tiger pulls out of tournaments, people stop watching the tournaments.
Yes. He still moves the dial for TV.
Correct.
If Tiger is in contention on Sunday at the Masters,
everybody turns in.
Oh, I hope it's Tiger and Koepka in the final round.
And Tiger wins it.
Yeah.
Tiger wins it.
Yep.
Call it a day. Not going to wear Nike anymore, but.
And then don't shake his hands.
Just walk off.
Yeah.
Tiger has too much class.
He does.
Tiger's the one that brought back taking your hat off at the end.
I feel like we're very negative today, and we're going to talk about another negative story.
Yeah. Yeah. You let us know what you think in the comments below about Brooks Koepka. And while you're down there, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get to enjoy this show as much as we enjoy making it. I like to be an optimist.
I do too.
But we can't.
You know, baseball is my favorite game. It's the most perfect game ever invented.
Sure.
They can't get out of their own way.
Nope.
First, it was the Black Sox.
Yep.
Then it was Pete Rose gambling.
Yep.
Now they've
Steroids.
got the biggest star in 100 years.
Yep.
The biggest since Babe Ruth.
Greatest player of all time.
Not yet. But he is their biggest star, and he is embroiled in the middle of a gambling scandal, and he had to come out publicly and make a statement. I watched his whole statement. He said he's never bet on baseball.
So for
He's
those
never
of you,
bet on sports.
for those of you that have been living under a rock,
Yes, you always have to do this for me, and I appreciate it.
somebody has to explain what we're talking about.
I get wrapped up in it.
For those of you that don't know what we're talking about, which I'm sure you do, but I'm going to explain it anyway, there was a guy, I don't know his name, I should have looked it up before the show, but I didn't, so sorry. But there was a guy who's a bookie out in California, and his house was raided by the federal government because he's doing illegal bookmaking, which for bookmaking is gambling without a casino, without a license. They raided his house and found several tickets with Shohei Ohtani's name on it, meaning that Shohei Ohtani placed bets. Well, as they went through, all of a sudden they said, well, no, Ohtani just paid off the bets for his friend who was his interpreter. ESPN did a 90-minute interview with him talking about how he was that Ohtani just covered his debts, that the interpreter had a gambling problem, letting all this happen. And then right before the interview was about to drop on ESPN, Ohtani's people called ESPN, said, do not run that interview. We are looking into theft. This was theft by Ohtani, or by his interpreter from Ohtani.
Ippei Mitsurara.
You tried, and I wasn't going to. Well done.
Thank you.
But they said he stole the money from him, and now he came out and made a statement saying he's shocked and awed and blah, 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 blah.
Now, the one thing I'm going to change on this, we've been talking about this obviously off and on all week.
Yeah.
So I've listened to somebody talking about the Kobe Bryants of the world, the LeBrons of the world.
Yeah.
They've got people that handle their money, and they literally just send them a stipend every month.
Right.
They're there to manage the money.
Uh-huh.
So I can understand why Ohtani may not have known this, but my question is, why didn't his accounting people not see this?
Here's the thing, though. If you look at his earnings in the U.S., I looked up his earnings in the U.S. I couldn't find Japan. I have no idea how much he made in Japan. But if
he walked away from about $100 million to play in the U.S.
That was the estimation of what he could have made playing in Japan.
Right.
They didn't know what he was going to make because he played for the league minimum his first year when he came to the United States. If you actually look at what he made over his career, though, he's never made more than $4 million in a single season.
But he's making, just to be clear, he's playing for $2 million this year.
Correct.
Because all of his money in that $700 million contract is deferred.
Right.
But he's making $105 million total because of his endorsements.
But that wasn't the case till recently.
Right.
From what I was able to find, Ohtani, his career earnings in baseball has been $42 million. His endorsements up until this point that I could see was $40 million. My numbers could be a little off, but the $42 million in earnings is 100% true. That is, it was $4.5 million in 9 different transactions that was taken out of his account allegedly. That is 10% of the money he made playing baseball in the U.S. You're telling me you don't notice 10% of your income leaving your account?
He doesn't. Because I don't think he was watching it. He's been focused on baseball. Now, wait a minute. Hear me out. His people, however, his accountants, his managers, the people that are there to run his money so he can focus on baseball and being the best player in the world, should have come to him and said, Shohei, where are these transactions going?
Why isn't his bank questioning this? It was 9 different transactions. If we're talking about 9 different transactions.
Out of one bank, by the way.
Out of one bank. We're talking $500,000 transactions 9 times over a 3-month period. 9 times. Thank you, Ferris Bueller. I mean, think about it. So if you have 10 grand in your bank account, that's $1,000 that's been taken out of your account. If you have $100,000 in your bank account, that's $10,000 that has left your account. My bank calls me when $1,000 leaves my account. You're telling me 9 transactions over a 3-month period over $300,000 or $500,000. Your bank's not calling you and saying, "Hey, is this right?" Not going to happen.
I get that he operates as a celebrity and as a professional athlete. They operate in different worlds than you and I and the rest of the humans do.
That's still a lot of money.
His people should have noticed and went and said, "Why is this guy?" And that's the other thing. How did Ippei?
Try again.
Nope, I'm just going with Ippei.
All right.
How was he able to pull that money out of his account? Because you and I are father and son.
Yeah.
You don't have access to my account.
Nope.
I don't have access to your account.
Nope.
And I know this guy was more than an interpreter. He was best friend. He was road manager. Did a lot of things. but I can't believe that he had access to their accounts.
My question is, right, if it wasn't Shohei making the bets, and he never bet on baseball. I want to make that clear. It was soccer and other sports. None of the bets were on baseball. I want to make that very, very clear. But if you are a bookie and you have an interpreter that makes about $300,000 a year, you're not going to back somebody that makes that little money for $4.5 million.
Yes, you will. You know why? Because that may give you leverage against the guy with the money.
I mean, they didn't even back Art Schlichter.
Yeah,
They didn't.
nice shirt.
The Ohio State. He was great at Ohio State.
It
wasn't his fault. He was a running quarterback, and they asked him to be a passing quarterback.
He was a gambling addict.
Not until he left Ohio State that we know of. Okay, so he bet with his coach. What do you want me to say?
Jesus.
What do you want me to say? He still won national championships, and that's all that matters to me. It's like Aaron Rodgers. I don't care how you are off the field. I just cheer for you when you're on the field, and I wasn't alive for that. So thank you very much. I don't know what I was talking about.
We're talking about...
Oh, if you're not going to back somebody that has $300,000 a year, and plus those tickets were in Ohtani's name, unless, I mean, maybe Ipe was, I'm not trying at all, unless Ipe was saying these are for Ohtani. But again, how is your bank not letting you know? You're going to notice, oh, here's $500,000 9 separate times. We should probably check in on this and see what's going on. Because, by the way, these were wire transfers. This isn't like I swiped my card and bought a car. These were wire transfers.
Again, his people failed him badly.
Did they, though?
Of course they did.
Did they, though?
His managers?
Or did Ohtani know about this?
And that's to the crux of it, because it doesn't matter what he was betting on. The fact that he was betting could set up a situation where if he did do it, they would have leverage on him. This was an illegal bookie, and those guys play for keeps.
Correct. This is why gambling is a problem in sports. But if you're baseball, listen, if you're football, you asked for this. Yeah. You are going to bed with casinos and with DraftKings and FanDuel. The Cubs were talking about putting basically a casino in their top deck. This is what you asked for. You can't now be surprised. My one question with Ohtani is, why weren't the Dodgers there with him? Why was the owner, his manager, the GM on stage with him to talk about this?
They've come out since then and said, we think this will focus Ohtani even more. That's not a statement of support.
You hope so. There's a suspension coming.
Baseball, I don't think it will be. If it's proven that Ohtani's not involved, it's done. Clean your hands. Even the feds are going to walk away from this because they're not going to want to hurt baseball. But if the
feds don't care,
this Fed, they're going to.
The federal government doesn't care about baseball.
They want the bookie, and they want the bookie is who they want.
Well, and here's my question. Here's what I am waiting to see, because this will tell you everything. What's this sentence going to be for this bookie? Because if they don't throw the book at him and they go a light sentence on him, then there is information that they are not going to allow leaked. So it all depends on that, because he now knows, and the canary will sing, make no mistake.
Well, baseball
or if something magically happens to him, Epstein style, where all of a sudden he's gone, I put nothing against anybody. There's more to this story, and it's not going to come out this year.
No, this year is going to be quiet. Something will happen over the next 18 months. Baseball is going to church. They're saying novenas. They're lighting candles. They're doing whatever they need to pray that this does not come back on Ohtani.
Correct. Because here's the other part of it. Why are you allowing this guy to take the fall like that? Why are you allowing a story to come out where Ohtani just paid off his buddy's debts for a week? For a week. You let the interpreter do a full 90-minute interview with ESPN. Your people, Ohtani's people, the Dodgers, allowed this to happen, and then all of a sudden you change your mind?
And here's another question. What's the interpreter going to say if all of a sudden he's the one that's have a greyhound running over his body?
Unless all of a sudden he's living life large. He could have been that patsy that's just like, listen, you're going to take the fall. And if that's what happened, there's more to this. I just have a hard time believing it. It's like Pete Rose. Although I think people understood Pete Rose had issues. I don't think it was as big of a surprise. But this is the sport's biggest star that's supposed to save baseball. And
Ohtani is today's Babe Ruth.
I tell you what, it's time for the Carney plan, because when the 1919 Black Sox happened, that's what ushered in the live ball era. Baseball's going to have to make some changes to the sport to bring people back to the sport rather than bringing it back to players.
Especially if Ohtani, Ohtani's the first national star that they've had in a long time.
That's actually stuck, yeah.
Yeah. They wanted to be Trout, but everybody watches. Baseball became a regional sport
Because
under Bud Selig. Stop it. We aren't going down that road. Under Bud Selig. They've got to get back to being a national game, which the Carney plan would do. And we will do that. And we're going to keep talking about it until they do it. We're just not going to let go of this.
No.
Because now especially, you better be making some structural changes to the game to make it national and make it relevant. Because right now, it's losing year over year because they lose generation of fans by starting games too late, by this kind of thing. And it's got to stop.
Go back and watch our Carney plan. We talk about it a lot. Speaking of gambling,
we'll fix it.
We need to talk about the NCAA, but before we do that, let us know what you think about this down below. And while you're down there, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get to enjoy the show as much as we enjoy making it. But before we go on to the NCAA, we do have to do a little tease here. There is big news coming for Sports Talk with Dad. News that I didn't think in a million years we would ever see.
What do you know that I don't know?
I know lots of things you don't know, but I'm pretty sure you know about this one.
But we can't talk about it yet.
Can't talk about it yet. Check in next week. There's a big announcement coming with Sports Talk with Dad. Huge announcement coming with Sports Talk with Dad. Make sure you tune in on to
it's. You know why we're having this opportunity? It's because of our 106,000 subscribers.
It is. It is.
Watch this silliness
thank you so
every
much.
week. So thank you for that.
And it is silliness. It is complete. We're just a couple of idiots that like to talk into a microphone. Thank you for enjoying it. I question it every day, but I have fun doing it. And I appreciate it.
Voice for newspaper, face for radio.
That's right. That is right. But people enjoy it. On to the NCAA, and the reason this ties in because the Sweet 16 is coming upon us, but that is not the big news in basketball right now.
No, the NCAA comes out and they want to ban prop bets.
Yes, the president came out this week.
I'm not a gambler. I never have been.
I got you.
You got it. What's a prop bet?
Prop bet is a side bet on players mostly. And so you talked about Jack Golke a lot last week. Mm-hmm. And so a prop bet would be...
Actually, I didn't talk about him last week. We're going to talk about him here in a while. We talked about him over the weekend, you and I.
Was it?
Yeah. Oh. Oakland didn't play Kentucky until late last week, and we had it before the show.
We do this all week. I forget what we talk about in the show and what we don't. I'm telling you, we could do 24-hour shows. Anyway, so it's like if Jack Golke from Oakland, right? He comes in, plays in the next round. His over-under is 10 3-pointers.
Okay.
So you would bet on he's going to get more than 10 3-pointers or less than 10 3-pointers. You can bet on that with rushing yards, where the Indianapolis Colt player got in trouble because he bet against Jonathan Taylor over under 98 yards. That's a prop bet.
So it's dangerous. The NCAA is talking about 18, 19-year-old kids who are more susceptible to bookies and whatever.
Correct.
It's wise to ban them then.
And that's why he doesn't want it in there. He's like, if you're betting on anything but the score, it leads to players all of a sudden setting themselves up. Because honestly, with the way gambling is, especially in most states, you can just do it right from your phone. We have it right down in Illinois on the border of us here, not in Wisconsin. I hope it's not, personally. But you can just go right on your phone and make a bet. Are you telling me that these kids from their cell phones that, by the way, are provided by their families, which you have no access to, they're not going to go in and, so-and-so sees, oh, you think I'm going to have 10 threes? That's the over-under. I'm going to bet the under, and all of a sudden I'm going to start passing the ball later in the game. And I'm going to make a cool $50,000. It's
dangerous. It is beyond dangerous because these kids, they could have a roommate says, look, here's 25 G's. I need you to score under 20.
Well, and we saw it even when you look at Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather back in the day. Floyd Mayweather, the fight was delayed because Mayweather was trying to make a bet with his people in order to say he's going to knock him out in the 7th round. And what did Mayweather do? knocked him out in the 7th round, propped him up, let him do his thing, and then in the 7th round, he shows up and puts him on his tail.
That fight was over in the 3rd round, second round.
It could have been over in the 1st round if we're really talking about it. He let McGregor stay in the fight because he knows it's an entertainment, and he made more money knocking him out in the 7th. But that's the issue we're seeing here, and that's what's going to be brought into sports. The NCAA president is saying we need to put an end to this, and I look at the NCAA president and saying you failed already.
Correct.
It's too late.
He's lost control over NIL. He lost control over football. All these things have to be fixed, and you and I have talked about it. My solution is Power 5 conferences have to break off and have their own entity, like when the NCAA started, but now it's going to be something ran by the conferences. I think there should be a commissioner. You don't, but that way they
come to your side. You've made some pretty good points
that way
I can argue with.
That way, as an organization, you can put in new rules to clamp down on NIL, to clamp down on the transfer portal, and to clamp down on the betting and really put some hardcore guidelines in. Look at those players and going, if you bet, you're out of basketball.
Well, those are the rules now, but how do you pay attention to it? Betting is so common in the United States at this point, with mobile betting especially. You have it at your fingertips. How are you going to stop them?
Well, and look at the NFL. They raised their cap by what, $30 million or whatever it was? A large part of that is because of the betting.
You've let gambling in. This was a mistake. You look back in the 60s, or I guess it was the 50s, Paul Hornung and
60s.
Was it 60s?
Early 60s.
Paul Hornung and
Alex Karras.
They were suspended for an entire year just for being greeters at a casino. Now people are having DraftKings, FanDuel sponsor these individual players, sponsor these stadiums. I mean, there's a DraftKings gate at Wrigley Field right now.
They are putting their sport in danger, and I don't care if people bet. I really don't. I mean, if that's what you like to do, I know people, that's their entertainment, to go to a casino and do whatever. But you're going to destroy the integrity of these sports, and without integrity, you've got wrestling.
Look at the questions with the NFL right now with some of the calls that are made with the refs. I mean, it's only a matter of time before we see a scandal with the NFL when it comes to gambling.
Well, we're going to talk about the NFL and their new rules that are really going to mess things up in a minute, but the NCAA had a great first weekend of the tournament. March Madness was great. You had guys like Jack Gohlke playing against Kentucky and scoring 32 points.
Yep.
30 of them were threes.
Yeah, well, because all he ever shoots.
The kid is from literally 2 minutes from where we live.
Yeah,
Pewaukee, Wisconsin. Might be the greatest quote of the year. If there's an ESPY for the greatest quote, this one might win. He scored made 372 shots over the course of the season. All but 8 were threes.
Yeah.
And when they asked him about it, he said, well, for 2 of them, my toe was on the line. And the other 6, I really wasn't happy about. I mean, the guy is a 3-point machine. And good for him. He was the star of that first weekend. I love seeing the smaller schools get in. And I love it when they knock one of the big boys out.
It is, but a lot of the big boys stayed. There are fewer small seeds in the Sweet 16 than I have ever seen.
I think the lowest seed is North Carolina State, and they're in 11.
And then the next lowest is Clemson at 6.
All from Power 5 conferences.
Yeah.
Except
North Carolina State.
And Gonzaga.
Gonzaga's Big East.
Is it?
Yeah.
I thought they were on the West Coast.
Are they? You're right. They're in Washington.
Yeah.
Okay, fair.
But still, I mean, it's going to be interesting. So let's go through these games.
Yep.
And by the way, if you are betting and you take anything we say as gospel and put money on based on what we say, we hold harmless on this.
I was 4-0 on my bracket to start, and now I'm at 48%.
And I'm at?
We're not. Shut up.
What am I at?
67%.
All right. Once again.
Hey,
I've never been this
good.
Proof
in the NFL season, you beat me too.
I've never been this good, by the way. I'm on from NFL to this. It's never happened before.
Keep it up.
Anyways,
you're our only hope.
Clemson, number 6 versus Arizona, number 2.
Oh, I think Arizona's going to win this one.
I do too. San Diego State versus Connecticut, UConn. Alabama, number 4 versus North Carolina, number 1. This should be a good game.
This is going to be a really good game. Alabama's a really sneaky team. I think North Carolina's going to win it.
I do too. Illinois and Iowa State.
I will never pick Illinois to win.
I will
anything,
not. I want Iowa State.
So it will be Iowa State.
On Friday, we got North Carolina State at Marquette.
North Carolina State could win this one.
Yes.
They easily.
I'm taking
Marquette's not looked good.
I'm taking North Carolina State.
I'm not, just because I picked Marquette to win this in my bracket, so I'm going to stick with it. But I could see North Carolina State winning.
This should be a good game. Number 5, Gonzaga at number 1, Purdue.
Purdue just put up 106 points on a team.
I'm going for Gonzaga, but I think Purdue's going to win. Duke versus Houston. This is my upset. I've got Duke beating Houston.
I can see Duke beating Houston as well. I'm also going to pick Houston, but
okay. The final one. Number 3, Creighton versus number 2, Tennessee. I'm taking Creighton just because I don't like Tennessee's orange.
I picked Tennessee to win. I'm going to stick with it just to stay true to my bracket. But I'm a big Creighton fan, and I could. Speaking of, I'm glad this is the last game, because talk about a school that turned themselves into a powerhouse. Creighton is a school that used to be an 11-12 seed that would get in every now and then, and now they've been a top 5 seed for the last 3-4 years now.
They've been doing great. Let's expand on that just for a second, because there's another team that's near and dear to my heart, which was a 5 seed.
The Badgers?
Talking about the Badgers, by the way.
Fired coach.
They need to fire Greg Gard. I mean, there was a big rumor going around. I actually fell for it for a minute that he'd been fired. He's gotten knocked out in the first round when he shouldn't have, and he's already got 3 guys going in the portal. AJ Storr is going to the NBA combine just to see what his draft stock will be.
Well, and Iowa State, that's still in the tournament.
Yeah.
3 of their guys are from Wisconsin.
They don't recruit well.
You can't let people leave your state. It's what killed, what's his name with the Badgers?
Yeah, Luke Fickles said it very well. He goes, if you're within 300 miles, you're mine.
He's not going to last long.
He hasn't been fired yet.
They might give him another year, but that was embarrassing.
That was awful.
And everybody saw it coming.
Oh, you and I both picked it. I mean, last weekend when we did our 12-5 upsets, you got them right.
I was 100%. Only time I'll ever be 100%.
I got the Wisconsin,
James Madison.
James Madison one right. Because I knew they were going to get beat. They weren't just beat. They were ran out of the gym.
I don't know why they were a 5 seed.
I don't either.
I mean, they
should have been in the tournament.
Joke.
They should not have been in the tournament.
You know who should have been in the tournament? Ohio State.
No, they shouldn't. No, they shouldn't. Honestly,
they look better at the end of the year than Wisconsin did.
Well, Wisconsin got to the finals of the Big Ten tournament. They should take more teams from the smaller conferences and limit the number they take from some of these big schools, because Wisconsin never should have been in this tournament.
I mean, the UConn coach made a comment saying it was a mistake only letting 3 Big East teams in, because all Big East teams, all 3 of them are still in right now.
He's not wrong.
No, he's not.
Big East is a great basketball conference. With Big Ten.
Do you agree that they should expand the tournament now?
No. They should just redo what they're doing. There's no reason the Big Ten needs 9, 10 teams in or whatever they got. Be a little more selective. And here's my thing. If you're from a small conference, we'll use the UW Green Bay, which is a small conference of some kind. Yep. The only one that goes is the one who wins the tournament.
Correct.
I think they should also let in the one who wins the league championship, this regular season championship.
Well, then you need to expand the tournament.
No, you just keep teams like Wisconsin out.
Listen, I went to Jacksonville University, right? I was a student there.
You were.
They're a D1 basketball school.
They were. They are.
It's cool when they get into the tournament. They never do anything, but it's cool when they get in. But are you telling me if Jacksonville University wins their season, the best record of the season, that they should be in just to get destroyed by some other team?
I'd rather see them have a chance to beat this year's Oakland than a Wisconsin team that really didn't belong there.
If you're going to do that, you have to expand the tournament.
No.
You have to. So I'm glad to see you're on my side. Expand the tournament.
You got to just be more choosy.
Choosy.
Yes. Choosy, Mom.
But you're talking out of both sides of your mouth. You want to see more. You want to see the season tournament winners in that have the best regular season record in the conference. And then you also want the championship in. Okay, well, then you have to.
No. What you have to do is
you
have to look at some of these conferences, the big Power 5 conferences, who have all the power. And granted, they've got the bigger alumni and everything else. You got to look at a Wisconsin and go, you don't belong in this tournament. We're going to let Jacksonville in.
Are you telling me that Wisconsin wouldn't, even though they were how bad of a team they were, they wouldn't have beaten Jacksonville University?
They didn't beat
or
James
UW
Madison.
Green Bay.
They didn't beat James Madison.
I'm just saying you're not gonna pick a small conference that had the best record against a small conference instead of picking a Big Ten, SEC, Big East, or another conference school, even a Big 12 school. You're not going to do it. It doesn't make sense. I don't even know who UW Green Bay plays in their conference, but you're not going to pick another
UW
school
Milwaukee,
from that conference.
UW Milwaukee.
Okay.
Bradley, I think, is in that conference.
Cool. You're not going to put both Bradley.
Southern Illinois is in that. It's a good conference.
It's a small conference.
It's a small conference.
You are not going to put two schools in from a small conference unless you expand the tournament.
I don't want to see it expand the tournament. I don't think that would be the right thing to do.
Well, you can't have your cake and eat it too.
I can have it. I can have my hybrid cheesecake.
No, it's a pie. That's a
Right,
pie.
going down that road.
Cake.
All right. We have big NFL news as well that we have to talk about.
We do. I'm excited.
So the NFL has introduced some new rules.
Yes. Which one you want to talk about first? Because I have lots of opinions.
Let's talk about the one that I hate the most.
Okay.
Hip drop tackles. And for those of you who don't know what a hip drop tackle is, you grab the guy around the waist, you let your weight pull him down.
So tackling. Yeah.
Granted, they're saying, well, you have to, it's the swivel hip drop because you got to turn the guy. In other words, you're tackling the guy.
Yeah.
What's the defense's job?
To tackle people.
To get him down as quickly as possible.
That's a better way of putting it.
How are you going to tackle people now?
I don't know.
And more on top of that, how on God's little green earth are you expecting referees who don't call the game right now going to ever get this call right?
We're on a negative run today.
We are.
That's okay. I don't understand this at all. I remember when they made the no more chin music, as I like to call it, where you can't put a helmet to the chin, the Clay Matthews rule, as it became known, that honestly, that hurt Clay Matthews' Hall of Fame status, in my opinion, because all people remembered were him getting flagged for nothing.
For nothing. They were clean hits.
They were very clean. Well, the first one wasn't, but by rule standards, but you're asking people to change. So, but the league adjusted, right? They changed the way they played. They completely updated everything on how they taught people how to tackle, which was good. I get it.
That one made sense because they were trying to get the lead with the crown of the helmet and those big head-to-head collisions to go away.
They did that. Now they've adjusted to this style of tackling, and now you're saying you can't grab people around the waist and then put your weight down to pull them down.
How else are you going to do it?
I don't know.
I mean, yes.
And I don't know how this is going to be called. The refs can't call pass interference correctly, let alone now you're having them call tackling correctly.
They say this happens once a game. Guarantee you there's going to be more than one flag a game on this. And it's 15 yards and an automatic first down. This is going to change games.
For tackling somebody.
There's no good way to call this. They showed one of the examples was somebody was tackling Ryan Tannehill near the goal line.
Yeah.
He grabbed him around the waist and just pulled straight down. And they said, that's a flag. And that's what this is really all about. We're going to protect quarterbacks even more.
It's more points. This is going to be called on quarterbacks more than anything. But my question is, too, you have a corner, right? 5'10", 5'11", 185 pounds, and you have a big old running back like Derrick Henry or Josh Jacobs, and you have to bring him down, and now all of a sudden you can't put your weight on them to bring him down. How are they going to? All you're going to do is take him out by the knees, and you're going to see more knee injuries.
Ron Dane wishes he was playing right now.
Yeah, no kidding.
Earl Campbell, another one. I mean, they score 100 points.
So is Derrick Henry. He's going to run over people even more. I don't know what you expect people to do now. Okay, so I can't grab him around the waist and put my weight on him to bring him down. Well, how do you expect them to be tackled then? You want more points, and this comes back to what apparently the topic of our show has been, is gambling. This is better for the sports book because there's going to be more points now. That's all this is.
This is going to hurt. I get it. You want to protect your players. Got it. You have them sign everything. Have them sign a waiver when they start that you may get hurt playing football.
They do. It's called multi-million-dollar contracts.
This is
part of how it works. Listen, I had a good friend of mine, Brian McCullough, who told me this a long time ago, and I found it more and more true as it goes on. You know about concussions. You know about injuries. You understand that you were giving up 10 years of your life possibly to make millions of dollars now, to make generational money to set up your family. Because that's in order to play football, you have a choice. You don't have to play this sport. You know it's a violent, dangerous sport.
Remember when we were in Green Bay, we went up for William Henderson's Hall of Fame induction
Yeah.
into the Packer Hall of Fame. Jerry Kramer was there.
Yeah.
And we had the opportunity to meet and shake hands with Jerry Kramer.
One of the best moments of my life.
It was
really
awesome.
cool.
His hands were as gnarled as you could ever imagine. And he admits it. He goes, yeah, it's the price I paid for playing football and for being able to win championships.
And taken care of for the rest of his
Yes.
life. I mean, he goes and does events where he just shows up and gets paid for it.
Sure.
That's all part of how this works. I'm tired of this. This is almost like you tell a boxer that you can't hit him in the rib anymore because they can get hurt and their ribs can break. Okay, well, that's how it works. It's part of boxing. You know that going into it. Same thing with football. You know you're going to get hurt. And I'm sick and tired of this becoming flag football. It's just not even fun to watch anymore.
I mean, why
There's
don't
already 30 flags in a game that makes it boring to watch. We're just going to add more.
are coaches going to be able to challenge these stupid calls?
No.
Probably not. I'm sorry. I'm tired of PC football.
Yeah.
And I'd really like to see regular football come back where we can watch and enjoy and let the guys play and figure out who wins on the field, not by a referee throwing a stupid flag.
Well, and not having to understand physics to understand the rules of football. Like, this is getting to be absolutely ridiculous. Speaking of challenges, though, that was a good segue. The new challenge rule comes into play. This is the Dan Campbell rule. I do too. Right now, you have 2 challenges. If you get both of them right, you get a 3rd challenge. Now you just need to get one of them right.
And that's the way it should be.
What they need to do with this, in my opinion, though, is get away automatic reviews within 2 minutes.
That should be in the coach's hands.
Yep. If you're going to give them an extra challenge, then you need to take the 2 minutes because that just adds time. You're now reviewing everything because you can. It slows down the game. The last 2 minutes takes an hour because of this. Get rid of the refs being able to review within 2 minutes. Put it in the coach's hands. I think you just give them 3 challenges and you call it a day.
Or give them 2 and give them 1 within the last 2 minutes, something like that.
Sure.
These guys are adults. They're big people. They can make judgments. They've got the Jumbotron. They can see what's going on.
Yeah.
And granted, Roger Goodell makes a lot of money because he keeps this thing rolling.
He does.
This one might be the hip drop might be a bridge too far. This one's actually a good rule.
It is.
And that brings us to the XFL because we have a new kickoff rule.
You hate this. I love it. I think this is great.
I just said it's the XFL rule.
It's a great rule. I'm going to put it up on the screen here so you can see it. This is what Pat McAfee put up, and I thought it was the best one I could find.
You want me to read through it?
You read through it.
Okay. Kickers will kick off from their own 35-yard line. The 10 other players from the kicking team will line up on the opposing team's 40-yard line. The receiving team will have at least 9 players up on the setup zone between the 35 and 30-yard lines. 2 returners will be stationed in the landing zone from the 20-yard line to the goal line. No players, except for the kickers and returners, can move until the ball is received by a returner. Returners can return the football wherever it lands. A touchback at the 20-yard line would occur if the ball touches the ground or the player in the landing zone rolls beyond the goal line and into the end zone. So in other words, it kicks, it hits, it rolls into the end zone.
Right.
A touchback would occur at the 30-yard line if the ball goes out of bounds behind the receiving team's goal line, or if it strikes a goalpost, which we've seen happen, actually. Yep. This is going to make, Devin Hester would have loved this. Deion Sanders would have eaten it up. I think Keyshawn Nixon is going to destroy this rule.
Cordell Patterson just got a big contract because of this rule as well. Listen, this isn't going to last.
It's a 1-year experiment.
It's going to be tweaked. They're going to find things they like and don't like. What I like about this is it makes the kickers actually use more skill because you can't just boot it out of the back of the end zone anymore because that's going to give it to them at the 35-yard line versus at the 25-yard line now.
Something like that.
It actually has to land in the landing zone. You can't move until the kicker or the returner touches it. Everybody's lined up very, very close. I like this rule a lot. I'm excited to see what it does.
If it brings back kick returns,
which it will,
but it has the potential to be open season. These are better athletes than the guys in the XFL, obviously.
Right.
These guys could destroy this and score 4 or 5 touchdowns a game off of this.
Good. Let it run. The kickoff return is the most exciting play in sports because anything can happen. And you're giving that back to fans now. This is basically a punt return for the most part.
I honestly think the hip drop tackle is the most exciting play in football.
Yeah. Drop it. Get it? Hip drop.
Yeah,
drop
yeah.
it. Okay.
Cynicism is wild today. Okay.
All right. Fun times. This is really good because you can't just boot it out of the end zone anymore. It has to be in a landing zone, which means you still can't kick it out of bounds. So this is a big skill play now for the kicker.
And this was developed by the special teams coaches around the league.
It was.
I will give them credit for doing something completely different and unique.
Yep.
It's just going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
We'll see. I mean, I don't know what this is going to look like when it's all said and done. Players are now getting contracts that they wouldn't have gotten otherwise because you need Keyshawn Nixon got redone. Cordell Patterson, as I mentioned, got a big old contract because of this. They're finding different ways to make this work. Onside kicks are also coming back as well, which is really exciting because you have to declare no more surprise onside kicks, which,
okay, why bother?
I mean, it's only one of the greatest Super Bowl plays of all time
right.
with New Orleans, but
yeah, okay. Why we can't have something that was really exciting.
Right. The issue is you only could have 5 and 5 on each side. And so it really gave the advantage to the receiving team. There was like 2% of them were recovered. Now you can actually put 6 on one side and 4 on the other again. You're going to see more onside kicks recovered.
Right. It's going to be interesting to watch. I mean, it was huge news out of the owners' meetings in Orlando over the weekend.
Yep.
I'm really surprised at the tackling rule. I just don't. That one makes no sense.
That's a year too. That's going to be gone in a year. Same thing with the pass interference being able to be reviewed. That lasted 1 year, and then it was done. It was pointless.
That was the New Orleans Saints rule.
Yeah, and then the New Orleans Saints got screwed because they didn't review the pass interference when it wasn't pass interference. So it didn't really make a difference, and they got rid of it really quick. I think this kickoff rule is going to be changed. I think the hip drop rule will be gone within a year.
I don't think so.
I do.
I don't. They've got to
focus on stretching your hamstrings rather than actually worrying about what tackle causes hamstring injuries.
And that actually is a great point because these guys, they were doing an interview with, I don't know if it was Watson or one of the guys saying, yeah, I stretch for 5 or 10 minutes. They should be stretching for 60 minutes before every game.
Right. Well, it's dynamic stretching. So if you're working out, it's better to do dynamic stretching because then you're not tiring out your muscles. And so a big thought in the NFL was, we're working out our muscles a lot. We're going to do dynamic stretching, save the energy for the field. The problem is you don't do that before cardio. And that's really what the NFL is. It's complete cardio. You need to stretch out those hamstrings, and they're going to go back to that. It's why a lot of teams fired their strength coaches this year to bring in guys who are more focused on leg stretches and all of those type of things.
I would stretch or playing tennis 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And I was nowhere near this level.
You got to make time to stretch. That's going to really prevent hamstring injuries going forward. But you let us know what you think about the rule changes in the comments below. And while you're down there, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get to enjoy this show as much as we enjoy making it. You and I have had a good show.
We have.
But as you all know, you cannot have a conversation with your dad without your father getting the last word. So it is all you.
I would really like to go off for a few minutes on the fact that cheesecake is not a pie, but I'm not going to do that.
I already won this argument.
You haven't won it. So I was rewatching an old documentary back from 2010. It was the Bird Magic documentary. It was unbelievable the impact that those two guys had on the NBA. Before they came along, playoff games, championship games were put on tape delay. They wouldn't start until 11:30 at night after the news, kind of like baseball in their playoff games right now. But that wasn't my biggest takeaway from the whole documentary. It was that these guys were men. They didn't want to be friends. They wanted to compete and they wanted to destroy each other. There was never talk about Magic and Bird teaming up on the same team except for an all-star game before they joined the league or the dream team when their careers were over. They wanted to destroy each other, and it made it great. They competed hard. They respected each other. They didn't even become friends until they were filming a shoe commercial in French Lick at Larry Bird's house, and Magic came in, and Larry's mother actually made them lunch, and she came in and told Magic that he was their favorite player. They had a good laugh about it, and they became friends. It's still based on mutual respect. Guys and masculinity are under attack right now. It's one of the reasons the suicide rate for men in their 40s, 50s, and 60s has skyrocketed. Something's got to be done to change that. And the only way to change it, it really is if you're having trouble, if you're feeling hopeless, if you're feeling like you're at the end, reach out for help. Talk to a friend. I don't care if you email us, sportstalkwithdad@gmail.com. We will get you the help. Whether I'll come and talk to you yourself, or we've got people that we know all through the country. We'll get somebody down to work with you. This is Easter week. It's a time for rebirth. Everybody goes through hard times. Suicide affects families for generations. Believe me, I know it's affected mine. And it's been 40 years since I had to deal with it. Don't give up. Don't lose hope. This is a short-term solution to a long-term problem. If you're having a struggle, talk to somebody. That's the manly and masculine thing to do. It's nothing to be ashamed of. We all need help sometime. So on this Easter week, where at the end of the week, we say he is risen and we have a rebirth of all of us inside, take the time to look at yourself and reach out and get the help you need. That's it.
It's a good last word.
Thank you.
I like it. I do want to end on the fact reminding you that Ohio State just beat Wisconsin in a national championship. Thank you so much, as always, for watching. This has been Sports Talk with Dad.
Who
We'll
got
see
the
you
last
next time.
word? Bye, everybody.